Hello YouTube and welcome back to UK Highland Photography. This is the channel dedicated to helping you to become a better photographer. Today is part one of a series of videos which is looking into how photographers make their transition from a hobby photographer into a professional photographer. Now, many of you guys may have seen on online forums that a lot of photographers talk about being a professional photographer. Now, you've heard that term all the time, but how many times have you heard photographers use the terms sole trader or the terms paying tax? Chances are you have not heard photographers use them terms, even though sole trader and paying tax is a very big thing with regards to being a professional photographer. So how do you set up a photography business? Okay, well, the first thing what you have to do is you have to ask yourself, what kind of photography service do you want to offer? So this means, what kind of photographer do you want to be? For example, do you want to be a portrait photographer? Do you want to be a nightclub photographer? Do you want to be an event photographer, studio photographer, pet photographer, wedding photographer, school photographer, commercial photographer, or baby photographer? You see, you can be anything you want. It's up to you to decide what kind of photography service it is that you want to offer. Once you've worked out what kind of photographer you want to be, so let's pretend that I want to be a wedding photographer. So if I want to be a wedding photographer, then I now have to ask myself what it takes. Do I have what it takes to be a good wedding photographer? Can I survive as being a wedding photographer? These are some of the questions which I need to ask myself. So again, what it takes. Do I have all the equipment to be a wedding photographer? Well, I have 2 cameras, okay? I have 2 DSLRs, so one will be a backup camera, so if one breaks, I've got another DSLR to back me up. I've got about 8 flash guns. I have loads of power. Only thing is, I don't drive. I don't like cars, I hate driving, so I can't be a very good wedding photographer if I don't actually drive. But again, I don't want to be a wedding photographer and nor do I want to drive. So you see what I'm saying? So if we just remove this, so I'll be like, so what can I do then? Hang on, I could be a studio photographer, okay? So a studio photographer. Now, let me think about this one. Do I have what it takes to be a studio photographer? Well, I have studio photography experience. I have my own home studio, which I could work from. Okay, so do I have all the equipment? Yes, I have all the equipment. Do I have the experience? Yes, I've done a lot of TFP, built up my portfolio, it's looking nice. So I would say, yes, I have all the experience. Rejection. Can I handle rejection? Yeah, I can, but can you? This is one of the questions you need to ask yourself. Can you handle rejection? Okay? Job hunting. Customers are just not going to start walking through your door left, right, and center. If you're a wedding photographer, brides and grooms are just not going to come to you. They don't even know you exist. So you need to start job hunting and go out there and find the work. So when it comes to job hunting, I would have to find ways of getting customers to come in to my studio. So I would have to just find a solution to get that work in the door. It's like being unemployed. You need to look for the work, hence job hunting. Now selling, every business needs to sell its products or its service. So in photography, you will either A, sell your photography service, or B, you will be selling your actual photographs. That could be posters, it could be prints, it could be mugs, plates, baseball caps, t-shirts, you name it. But the fact is, every business needs to be sold, and selling is a very hard and a very good skill to have with regards to being a professional photographer. Now, communication. What's your communication like with people? To be a good professional photographer, you must get on with people. It's a fact. If you're shy and you don't like people, don't become a professional photographer, because you will fail point blank. Now, how am I myself with communication? How do I communicate with people? Well, to be honest with you, I like people. I actually do like people. The thing is, I don't like all people. Now, because I don't like all people, then I don't expect all people to like me. So you see what I'm saying? But overall, I do like people. But I know there's people out there who just love people. And I know there's people out there that just love people who love people. And in my books, it's these guys that are the best professional photographers, because in part, it's how good your photography is, but also in part, it's how good your communication skills is. Let me put it another way. People will only buy services or products from people they like. If they don't like you, you could take the best photographs in the world, but if people do not like you, they will not buy your photography service. So you analyze your communication. How well do you interact with people? How well do you get on with people? How well do you listen to people? Okay, next step, your support network. What is your support network like? Do you have people who can back you up? Do you have friends? Do you have family who will go out and, let's say, do a little bit of leafleting for you? So what's your support network like? Have you got any investors who'd be willing to put in a few, let's say, £1,000 to buy you the best equipment in order to get your business off the ground, your new photography business off the ground? So again, analyze your support network. Part-time or full-time? Should you start a part-time or a full-time photography business? Good question. Here's what I think. I think in this day and age, it's better to start a part-time photography business, because to make money in photography is very hard. The competition is very, very stiff. So to make money in photography is very difficult. But if you worked for an employer and you then started your own part-time business in photography, what you could do is you could use the money from what you earn from your day job. You could use that money to pay your bills, to pay your way of living, and the money that's left over, you could use that to start your new part-time photography business. Because what happens every week, you get the paycheck from your employer, all that money's taken care of, all the tax has been sorted, you've got nothing to worry about, that money is yours, you can do what you want with it. You see what I'm saying? So you can basically take that money and start it in a new part-time photography business. There's absolutely no dramas there. Even the tax man agrees you can do that. So if I was starting a photography business, I would go part-time and get an employer. That way, I've got the security and the support of an employer to back me with my new part-time photography venture. But if I chose to go full-time, then I've got to understand that I am taking a risk. Yes, I'll be my own boss, full-time, but I've also got to understand that it's up to me to bring the money into the business in order to stay in business and be a full-time professional photographer. So what is taking a risk? So let's go back to what role. Let's say I became that studio photographer, okay? So I'm this studio photographer. Now, in order to have a studio, I need to have space. It's like I've said, I've got a home studio here, so I could have my home studio. But how much does it take in electricity, okay? How much electric does it take to run my home studio? Once I work out my monthly fees, times that by 12, okay? And now you get your yearly fees. But do I have all that money in the bank to pay for the electric, the water, let's say council tax, business council tax, biz council tax, all this. So all these stuff on the yearly scale, do I have all the money in the bank that would pay for all these overheads of my studio? Okay, so what happens basically if customers don't come in? If I don't have customers walking into my studio and paying me money for photographs, if I don't have that, how do I make money? How's my business going to survive? The only way my business is going to survive is if I personally put the money into that business to pay for the electric, to pay for the water, to pay for the business council tax, to pay for new equipment and stuff like that. Yes, later on down the line, if customers start coming into my business and they start paying me for photographs and never getting profit, I could then take that money back out, which I originally put in, okay? But it's welcome to the world of business. This is exactly what it's like when you start a business. So they're the kinds of things you need to take into account if you go full-time. How much money do you have to invest in your business, and when will that money run out? Will it be 1 year? Will it be 2 years? Will it be 5 years? What's best? Is it best to rent studio space, or is it best to actually buy studio space outright and just have no rent to pay? So once you work out if you want to go part-time or if you want to go full-time, then it's moving on to the actual business side of things. Now, what is business? Business is being busy, okay? It's being busy, it's being business. Business is about making profit, okay? It's about profit, making profit, always having money coming in, which is known as cash flow. And then at the end of the year, you take away all your expenses, like your electric, your water, your new equipment, your business council tax, all this stuff. You take it all out, and the money that's left over should be profit. And that is what business is about. It's about profit. Profit pays for your holidays. Profit pays for your iPhone. Profit pays for your dental care. Profit pays for your kids to go to scouts, everything. That's what your profit does, and that's what businesses is about. It's about profit and it's about cash flow. But in order to have a photography business, you have to become self-employed. There's no way to escape it. You have to become self-employed. The only way you can become a professional photographer without becoming self-employed is to become an employee of a company. as a professional photographer, which is also known as a staff photographer. But in this day and age, chances are that is not going to happen because it's very hard to become a staff photographer. So instead, this is why we're talking about you starting your own business. So if you take the leap into becoming a professional photographer, then you must register as self-employed. This means that you must pay tax. Now, if you're advertising as a photographer, so if you're saying cheap weddings, £300, guess what? You're breaking the law because you should be self-employed. You can only advertise your services as a photographer when you're self-employed. And the reason why you have to do this is because you've got to pay Class 2 national insurance every week. I think it's like £5. So that means you have to pay £5, something like that anyway. You've got to pay something like £5 every week to be a professional photographer. But to the tax man, you're not a professional photographer. Instead, you are a sole trader. You may like to walk around and call yourself a professional photographer, but to the tax man, you will always be a sole trader, okay? Because it's through the sole trader process that you use to pay your tax. Both Class 2 tax and National Insurance Class 2 tax and National Insurance Class 4 tax. So basically, guys, that's the end of my video for now. In the next video, we are going to be having a look at how you write a business plan in order to go forward and become a professional photographer. But just to give you a recap, for now, here's what you have to think about. What kind of photography do you want to do? Do you want to be portrait, nightclub, event studio, wedding, baby, all that stuff? What kind of photographer do you want to be? Then you've got to ask, have you got what it takes? Do you have all the equipment, the experience? Can you handle rejection? Are you a good salesperson? What's your communication like with people? You need to analyze all of this stuff. What's your management skills? Only you know, I don't. Then, once you've decided, you know, if you want to move forward, do you want to go part-time or do you want to go full-time? Remember, part-time, you can work for an employer, use their money to help start your new business, or you can just take a loan out, run into it full-time and just, I don't know, you see the risk. So, work out part-time or full-time. After that, start learning about business. Start learning about the different kinds of profit. You've heard net profit. You've heard gross profit. What is that? Okay, what you can do, you can start learning and start researching yourself. If not, you're just going to have to wait until future videos about what profit is in business with regards to being a professional photographer. Cash flow. Start learning about cash flow. It's like a river running water. Cash constantly needs to be coming into the business. If you've got no cash coming into the business, and if you can't pay for the business to survive, your business is going to go down. So start learning about cash flow. Self-employment. You can't escape it. You are going self-employed.